Well, let's look at what we actually want to see get done, which is that, first of all, the Republicans are in charge of this process right now. And what we've seen with Speaker Johnson is that he walked away from the bipartisan talks. We have talks ongoing right now. And what I support is an effort that's the same thing that the Republican chair of appropriations, Cole, supports, which he says that a bipartisan deal would be better than a CR. What we see with Chairwoman Susan Collins, she wants to be able to move forward. So what I want to see get done is a 30-day extension for us to be able to continue these bipartisan talks and then to actually be able to come up with a congressional deal rather than just kick the can down the road with a CR for the rest of the year, which is what Speaker Johnson wants, because again, he's abdicating his responsibility. He's really showing just how bad he is at governing right now. And it's something that, again, he's the one that's walking away from this bipartisan talk right now. And I'll hope that he gets back into the talks so we can continue and finish the job. No, that's not what I'm saying, Jake. What I'm saying is, first and foremost, we need to see what happens in the House. You know, again, I was in the House of Representatives when Speaker Johnson became Speaker. He is very bad at legislating, very bad at keeping his caucus together. So I'm not certain what's going to happen there. But what I'm hopeful is that, you know, I'm trying to push, and I think a lot of us are trying to push one last time to see if we can get these bipartisan talks going. I can't tell you how many Republicans that I talk to in the Senate, in the House, that are frustrated as well behind the doors that Congress's roles and responsibilities are being whittled away, usurped by President Trump. And this is a place where we can reassert and say that, yes, we are the part of the government, the branch of government that's in control of the appropriations, in control of the funds. We should reassert that right now. And that's what I hope that the Republicans in the House and the Senate agree to, and we can restart these bipartisan talks and actually get things done. Well, it's not simple yet because we don't know what the House is going to do. So again, I'm going to see what happens with the House going first, and then we'll see what comes over to the Senate, if anything. But I still do think that there's an opportunity here to try to push. I can't tell you how many Republicans in the Senate are frustrated with this process, want to see us actually go forward. I mean, when we are worried about what's happening with defense spending, in terms of what's going to happen with the CR, when it looks like, you know, what we see here is handing over of the keys to the castle in terms of where the direction of funds go, that's where Congress's role is. So, Jake, what I'll say is that, you know, we'll see what happens with how the House moves forward, but there's a lot of frustration on the ground in the Senate, and I think that there is still an opening for that 30-day extension and for us to actually be able to get a deal going forward. They're very close. The negotiators are very close to a top-line deal, and I support Senator Murray and others pushing forward for that. Well, you know, this was the third time that I was in the chamber for President Trump giving an address to a joint session, and it's just getting worse and worse. And it's just, you know, look, what Trump is very good at doing is bringing the rest of this country down to his level. I mean, when we see him start off with just a barrage of personal insults to people, including people in the chamber, you know, he is certainly somebody that set a tone where he is uninterested in civility in this country in terms of how we proceed and be able to engage with one another. And I find that to be really insulting. When I get to work a job, he works a job. We work jobs whose job descriptions are in the Constitution of the United States. That should push us to hold ourselves to the highest of standards. So yes, President Trump is bringing the rhetoric and the discourse and the civility in politics down. I don't like that type of behavior that I see across the board, across the entirety of that chamber, whether it's what we've seen with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the past, or people on my side of the aisle. I do think we want to hold ourselves up to a standard. But what we see is that it's Donald Trump that's the one that's bringing our politics down to a level of incivility that I think the vast majority of Americans can't stand. Well, what I agree is that we want to make sure that these decisions are made by the communities, by the schools and others that are the ones closest to us and then understand. What we know is that we're talking about a handful of people, a handful of athletes around the country. These decisions can be made in a way that doesn't require the entirety of the federal government to come in on top of that. You know, what I'll just say to the American people here is that the Republicans, Trump in particular, he's trying to make this about safety, but it's not about safety and security of our kids. You know, I got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. What this, you know, if it was about safety and security, then maybe we would have seen Trump and the Republicans do something about the 330 school shootings that we had last year, which I'm terrified of, having 2 elementary school kids, or about the 1 in 5 kids in this that goes to school hungry and isn't able to have enough food in their stomachs to be able to get through the day. So it's not about safety and security, it's about politics. And that's what I find just so offensive about this, as someone who is worried about the state of our education system. And we see this right now at a time when, the President Trump is about to try to initiative to gut the entire Department of Education and trying to damage what I believe is a common good in this nation when it comes to our education. So that's something that I just really wanted to make clear. This is not about safety and security. It's all about the politics.